Hello children. So here on the interactive flat panel, you are observing a 3D model of sickle. So this is sickle. So sickle is an instrument and it is a device and this is used to cut the matured crops. So in India, so majority of the farmers still using sickle for to cut the crops. So this is sickle and sickle is having serrate edges and sharp edges and other side you see pens of a wooden handle. So this is the model 3D model of sickle. There you see sickle and it is having sharp edges and also it is also having wooden handle. So this is sickle and this sickle is an instrument and this instrument is useful to cut the mature crop and to collect the seeds. Next we are observing another 3D model and this is a pesticide. So pesticides are used by the farmers to check to control pests. So pests are bacteria and virus and rodents and these are pests, they damage the fungi and they cause great damage to the plants and especially crops. So in order to check the spread of the disease to control that is the pest population, farmers are using chemicals and these chemicals are sprayed by means of a sprayer and they use the sprayer and it is having pesticides that is chemical and with the help of the sprayer they can spray the chemical on crop thereby they control they kill the pest. So this is a pesticide. Children, now we are seeing on the interactive flat panel another a wonderful micro irrigation method and here you see plants are nourished or plants are watering with the help of a pipeline just backside you see and that is nothing but drip and this method is called drip irrigation and drip irrigation is a method and this method is useful to save the water 70% of the water. So we can save by using this drip irrigation technique. So sprinkler irrigation technique and drip irrigation techniques are used by the farmer. They need these techniques should be used by the farmers to check the wastage water. So we saw 3D models. So in this chapter here on the interactive flat panel you are observing harvesting, that is a heading. So I told you harvesting means here some instruments are used to cut the matured crops. So farmers are using sickle and farmers are using mechanized harvester to cut the matured crops to get to collect grain from the crop and that is called as harvesting. Here you are observing 9.10 harvested grains. In India, so we are celebrating many festivals and most festivals are collecting with connecting with that is harvest season. So in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana, so during the months of that is a Kharif season. So here after Kharif season, so paddy harvests are done and at the end of this that is getting harvest from the paddy and these people are celebrating a festival, and that festival is called as Sankranti. And they also singing some traditional songs, and this is nothing but a fruitful situation for their hard work and also labor. So finally, and they are getting more crop yield, especially paddy, and that is called as harvesting. That is harvesting of grains, paddy grains. Harvesting festivals after maturing the crop. So here farmers are cutting the matured crop, so with the help of a sickle, with the help of harvester, to collect grains, and that is called harvesting. And nowadays farmers are using mechanized harvester, thereby in a short period the total paddy crop can be harvested, and within short period they are getting grains from the crop. Again, here this is the happiest time for the farmers and their families due to maturation of crops, and these crops after maturation they appear to us like that is golden yellow. So here ripen a plant, ripen a paddy, that is seeds, they look like golden color and they are yellow in color. The farmers celebrate the harvest season in the form of festivals by singing traditional songs, I told you, and also express the joy and pleasure they are getting the fruit of their hard labor and work efforts and labor. In India, most of the festivals are associated with harvest season are Pongal and Baisakti, Holi, and Diwali, Navayan, and Bihu. So these are the festivals celebrated India, and these festivals are associated with that is harvesting season, and it is a fruitful work, and that they are getting large number of crops after harvesting the different crops in India. Now we need to understand about another term, and that is threshing. So what is threshing? So threshing is a term, and this term generally we use to separate the seed from the straw or chaff. So that is called a threshing. Threshing is nothing but to collect the seed from the straw or chaffs of that is crop is called as a threshing. So here it is the process of separating grain from the straw and chaff, and that is called as a threshing. And that method is called threshing, and we are using threshers. Combine is an automated machine that does both harvesting as well as threshing. So here another word we are using in that is production of food from the that is plants, that is winnowing. So what is winnowing? Winnowing wind. So here farmers are separating grains by what they generally they are using this method winnowing, and this winnowing method is useful to separate light waste material from the grains. So some of the grains they are hard and they are bulky and they are with the weight, and these are when they are exposed to the air, and easily air is separating the waste material from the grain, and the grain they may fall on the ground. So this method of separating grains from the by using wind, that is called as winnowing. And nowadays farmers are using a fan and mechanized fan, and thereby it also useful to separate the waste from the that is grains. So here you see it is a process of making natural wind to blow through the grains, so which allows the lighter substances to fly and leaving the heavier grain which are falling on the ground. Winnowing can be done manually, I told you manually, and also by using machine, and that machine is having a big fan, and that big fan is also useful to separate the waste material from the food grain. So these are they are very strong, and these grains are having what weight, and these heavier grains they may fall on the ground. So in this way farmers are separating grains from the other waste substances which we are getting during the process of harvesting. So this is called a winnowing. We learn what is threshing, the term, and also we learn so what is winnowing, and we need to understand. So after getting crops, after getting that is the grains, And here there is another task is there for the farmers, and farmers they need to store these food grains safely in godowns or cold storages. Otherwise, they may be affected with algal farm, fungal farm, insects, pests, and rodents. They may damage the that is crop yield. So in India, 20% of the food grains are consumed or damaged by means of rodents. So that is a large amount. So 20% of food grains are consumed by the rodents, and that is they are causing heavy loss to the crop, that is crop grains particularly. So that for that, to check, to prevent the loss by means of the erosion, and farmers need to store these grains in a safe place. Now we need to understand, so what are the safe place and where do we need to store these grains. So before to store the grains, and the grains and the crop seeds should be properly dried under sunlight. Suppose if at all they are having moisture, and moisture is a condition, that condition is useful, it is a favorable condition to grow fungal and also bacteria, and thereby these seeds are affected by means of fungal infection and bacterial that infection. To check the spread of the fungus and also bacteria, farmers need to dry the total seeds under sun, and that is called drying. And here the seeds should consist of 14% of what moisture. And there you see protection of crops against microorganism. I told you rodents, and they are nothing but they are called rats and pests. So all that is bacteria, fungi, and they are pests. And moisture also cause great damage to the seeds or the crops, that is the grains. And harvested grain should be protected from the moisture, and moisture I told you promote the microbial growth. So if microbes are grown on the seeds and the seeds are damaged, and it cause great damage to the seeds or crop yield. Grain should be properly dried in the sunlight until they possess, I told you, 14% of moisture. And silos are huge airtight structures, and these airtight structures are useful to store the food grain safely. So farmers they should store their food grains in silos. There you see SILOS. So it is a airtight structures, and thereby air is not entered the that structure, and thereby if at all air is not enter, and there are no more microbes, and the microbes are not affecting the seed grain. And next, granules are the large room built above the ground level to prevent the grains from especially rodents and also pests. So I told you pests are damaging food grains, and rodents also they are causing great damage to food grain. And in order to check the spread to get affected by these rodents and also pests, and farmers they need to store the food grains in granules. And stored grains are also damaged by means of worms and other insects. So here farmer they need to use neem leaves or neem powder, and neem powder or neem leaves they act as insecticide, and they are not allowing the microbes to grow. So here farmers they need to mix these neem powder or neem leaves in the food grain, and it check and it protect not to affected by the means of the food grains with the microbes. And we discuss, so how to uh, crop, how to protect the crops and also storage. And now you are observing a big storage, that is structures, figure number 9.11, and there you see storage of grains. So these are eight structures, and these are silos, and these eight structures are useful to store food grain by means of longer duration. So these are the structures, and these structures are mainly useful to store food grains. So there you see storage of food grain. Children, so we are at the end of this chapter, that is production of food from plants and production of food from plants, and there you see 10 summary points are there. 10 summary points are there. Already we discussed all these that is summary points. Again we need, again we are recollecting. So what we learned from this chapter, production of food from the plant. Crop is same kind. So here a term is a crop. What is a crop? A crop denotes and giving an idea that same type of plants are cultivated or grown in a particular place, and that in insignificant quantities, and that is called a crop. So there are many examples for crops are there: paddy crop, cotton crop, sugarcane crop, banana crop, like that many crops are there. Banana crop itself is indicating that crop, the field is having only banana plants. That is a crop, that is called a crop. And based on the season of growing and harvesting, crops are classified into two types. So I told you Kharif and Rabi. So plant, Kharif crops they grow during summer season, and Rabi plant are the crops which are growing during winter season. So these two terms are taken from Arabic language. And next, some crops they need more time to grow to get harvesting, more than 180 days, and those crops are called as long term crops. Example, that is the red gram. And some crops they need a few days for harvesting and below 100 days, and those crops are called as short term crops. Example, black gram and so green gram. And agriculture practices include, so we discuss what are the agriculture practices followed by the farmers. Already we discussed some steps. So first one is preparation of the soil. Second one is sowing of seeds in the soil. And third one is irrigation. And we discussed micro irrigation also, that is traditional irrigation also, micro irrigation also, and traditional irrigation, micro techniques. And they are drip irrigation also, sprinkler irrigation, and basin irrigation, furrow irrigation, like that. And next, manuring and fertilization, and adding of manures or fertilized in the field, and weeding, that removal of the waste plants which are growing, which are competing with the main crop, and they are called as weeds. That is method is called weeding. And we also discuss the last term, that is harvesting. So harvesting is nothing but that cutting off mature crop to get crop grains is called as harvesting. So those are called as steps, and they are called agricultural practices. And the two methods of sowing seeds. So first one is broadcasting, and another one is transplanting. Transplanting of paddy saplings, and transplanting of, that is banana saplings. So two times of there, and they are broadcasting also, transplanting. Manures are two types. They are organic manures and natural manures, and also some of these chemicals that manures, the make chemical fertilizers are there. And chemical fertilizers are they are manufactured in chemical, that is factories, and those are called as chemicals. They are called as artificial fertilizers. And traditional methods of irrigation include motor, chain, pumping. The chain is a method of that is sending water, and decking, rahat, while modern methods include drip irrigation, also sprinkler irrigation. So these are all irrigation techniques. And process of removal of unwanted plants which grow along with the main crop, and they compete for air, water, sunlight. Those unwanted plants which are growing along with the main crops are called as weeds. So here we need to remove the weeds, and that is called as weeding. And harvesting. So harvesting is a method which is involving what cutting off mature crop to get to separate the grains is called as harvesting. And last one, harvested crops, grains. They can be stored in silos and granaries. And we discuss the in-text questions and all answer clearly. And also we discuss, so what are the agricultural practices, steps followed by the farmers, and we also discuss the two types of crops which are growing in India, Kharif and also Rabi. And also we discuss the methods, what is harvesting, what is weeding, and what are irrigation techniques.